I have seen the torch of freedom pass from hand to yearning hand, and the vision of our fathers spread hope throughout this land, as the dream some fought and died for in my heart becomes my own. I will strive to keep her promise, America, my home. America, America, may God bless America, and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the cities great and small, we have reaped the fruits of justice and liberty for all.
So with deep appreciation for the blessings of freedom that we know in this wonderful land of ours, I'm Dr. George Simon, welcoming you to another edition of Character Matters. This is the program where we talk about what I consider to be the defining issue of our time, the character crisis that we face and affects so much of our daily lives, from our individual relationships to our family relations, our community relations, our politics, our business affairs, our international affairs. Every single aspect of our lives is affected by a crisis that we've been in for several decades now, a crisis of character. It's not an economic disease. There isn't any problem that we have. It doesn't relate directly to the character issue. And so that's why I've spent my entire professional career as a mental health professional writing and talking about this. Was a time when nobody was listening. Now that's changed. It's amazing how a crisis can make a big, big difference in people's perceptions of things. So I've been writing and speaking about it for years, talking about it on this program every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, and naturally 5 p.m. Mountain Time. For all my friends out there in my former home state of Arizona. And I've been writing about it in 4 different books, 4 different best-selling books that you can purchase readily on Amazon or any of the other major booksellers. In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, some regarded as the definitive book on the topic of interpersonal manipulation and manipulative behavior. Those covertly aggressive personalities who look good on the outside, know all the right things to say and do, but are pretty difficult to get along with and will make your life miserable and create that gaslighting effect. So my book, In Sheep's Clothing, is an international bestseller for that reason, published in many, many foreign languages, and a bestseller for now going into its 23rd year. And my book, Character Disturbance, The Phenomenon of Our Age, another bestseller, giving you a broad scope of understanding of all the disturbed characters you're likely to meet out there, how to deal with them, how to understand them, and especially what to look for in the way of help when you go seeking help from a professional to deal with your issues regarding them. And then my book for the Christian faith community, The Judas Syndrome, about how genuine faith in action can truly transform a life. Not just faith professed on the lips, but really taken to heart, taken seriously, and lived out. And then my book co-authored with Dr. Kathy Armistead, The Relationship Partner's Guide to Surviving in This Crazy Character-Disturbed World of Ours, and that explains how we got here as a society as well. My book, How Did We End Up Here? Also available at all the major booksellers and Amazon.com. So I've been writing about this problem, talking about it across the country in workshops and seminars. You can find information about that at the PESI and Vine Education Works websites. And you can also mosey on over to where I also write about matters pertaining to character every single week. And you can find hundreds of articles free of charge that will help you out, help you understand the situations that you're in at my blog site at www.drgeorgesimon.com. That's drgeorgesimon.com, or manipulative-people.com. Either URL will take you to the same place. And you'll find an interesting article, a very interesting article that I posted this past Friday that I want to talk some about today. But I also want to announce that we are live tonight. It is the 6th of May, 2018. And we are live, so I can take your calls at 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. So if you have a question you want to ask, you have a situation you want to share, maybe just a comment you want to make, go ahead and give us a call at 501-258-8326, and I'll be happy to take your call. Well, I mentioned that I wanted to talk about something related to the article I posted this past Friday. I also want to mention two happy events that I've mentioned before, but I want to mention them again. You know, this program is founded on a principle about the interdependence of freedom and character. I care not only about the character of individuals in this country, I care about the character of our country a lot. And I know from an astute study of history, from my own personal experience, not just as a professional, but as a citizen, what truly makes America great during those periods when it is great. And it has enjoyed some periods of true greatness. It's had some periods of shame, to be sure. It has. No country is without blights of character in its record. But we've had some shining, shining moments in our history. And what truly makes this country great, when it is great, is not military might, which is substantial, and is not economic power, which is also substantial. It's the character of our people. Folks who take seriously the ideals and values that we profess, and to the best of their ability live them out in their daily lives. Take up those daily burdens. Educate themselves, develop themselves, instill in themselves a set of values and a moral compass that guides them to build strong family relationships, strong community relations, conduct fair and faithful enterprises, create opportunities for themselves and others. You leave folks like this free from unnecessary government intrusion and unnecessary constrictions of freedom. You leave decent people alone. You give them free rein, and they will create wonderful opportunities, not just for themselves, but for others. They will grow and prosper, and the country will grow and prosper too. That's how it works. That's how it was always meant to work. But we've been in a character crisis for too long, and therefore there's been this ever-increasing demand that government act as a police officer, basically, and in so doing, write rules, regulations, pass laws, and put other encumbrments in the way of people that restrict freedom. And quite frankly, the only folks that pay attention to these restrictions are the still responsible folks among us. So the only folks who are impacted by these restrictions are the already responsible folks carrying already too big a burden. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but it will happen at some point, and it will be truly a crisis. I'm not sure when it will happen, that decent people who carry so much of the burden already are going to get sick and tired of carrying it all and being burdened ever more. You can't run a country, let alone have a great society, with that kind of situation. We have a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take the call. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters.
Hello?
Yes, welcome to Character Matters.
Oh, okay. I'm still hearing you on the radio talking.
Well, yes, yes. You need to turn your radio down and just talk to me on the phone.
Okay, yeah, Dr. Simon, I've called a couple of times. My name is Ken from Zephyr Hills, Florida. And there's one interesting thing I wanted to ask you, and it's very complicated, so I don't want to get too far into it because it would take too long. But anyway, I've been in love with a woman for probably 30 years now. And when we meet, we're in good shape. We have a good time. There's no real problems. But it seems like every time I want to meet her, there's always an issue. There's always something. And I refer back to the saying or the quote or whatever it is that if you do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, then you're crazy or something?
It's, the common lore about that is that Einstein gave that as the definition of insanity. He never,
okay, yeah.
he never did, by the way. But that's common lore. Yes.
Right. So anyway, so I'm asking myself, after 30 years, this woman that I'm in love with always has an excuse of why she can't make it down here to Florida. She lives up in New York State, but and even when I lived in New York State, she always had some kind of an excuse, and I'm thinking, well, it must be something I'm not doing right or wrong, because she's a very good friend of mine, and she means well, and she never says to me, gee, I really don't want to see you or anything, because I don't know, maybe because of the friendship, but I'm thinking, I've always told her, just be honest with me, if there's an issue, then I'd like to know about it. And so that goes right into the character matters, and I didn't want to. All right,
now your relationship has been going on for 30 years. Is that right?
Well, yeah, it's complicated. That's why I said in the beginning it's complicated. She's married, but they're not really. They just live together. They're not in love. They love each other as friends, but they don't have any sexual relationship going on. So it was going on with me, and it was very. There's
and
many
are you
years.
And are you married?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I'm single.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I met her. I was 30. She was 25, and we just had the greatest time together. So I never really forgot about her. But I don't want to get too much in the emotional stuff. I'm just asking you, should I just end it? Should I just say, this is not going to work. It's never going to work. She always has an excuse of not to see me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, you're not going to like my answer.
Okay.
Because I do think there is a character issue here.
Yes, there is. I agree.
Okay.
I already know that.
And it's on both sides.
I agree.
Okay. Yes. You're in a relationship that crosses boundaries with a married woman, right?
However, they just are friends at this point, and they just live together.
You didn't answer my question.
Okay, what was that?
You're in a relationship that crosses boundaries with a married woman, right?
Okay, technically married, yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes.
So that would be a yes, right? And
yes.
And this is a married woman who is also willing to be involved with you in some way that crosses boundaries. We got two character issues. Okay. And there isn't any way possible for either one of you to have the kind of relationship that you want until each one of you resolves your own character issues. Okay. I told you weren't going to like my answer.
No, well, it makes sense. It totally makes sense. I understand that, but it's the problem is that it's not going to change.
The single best predictor of future behavior is current and past behavior. And both of you are crossing boundaries.
Right.
Yep.
And so it would be best just to move on, I guess.
You already know that.
Yeah, but I can't. It's
the but that's the problem. You already knew the answer. You already knew the answer, but you're giving the excuse, and that, my friend, is the character issue.
Okay, so
you can't have everything. There's got to be boundaries. If there's no boundaries and no limits, there's no character. Period.
How do you remove the emotional response when you think about leaving someone that you've been in love with?
The emotional response has nothing to do with the boundaries and the limits. I have an emotional response every time somebody spits in my face.
I hope they don't do that.
I have an emotional response when that happens. Does that entitle me to pull out a gun and blow them away?
Well, for me, I would think about punching them in the face.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, what I'm saying is the boundaries and the limits that we draw and that we observe have nothing to do with our emotional response. We make that excuse.
Okay, so how do we deal with that?
Character is all about internalizing those values that we know are necessary to protect safe, growing, healthy relationships. And for any relationship to endure and do what it's supposed to do in the way of personal growth, there has to be real commitment. And there can't be that kind of commitment in this kind of arrangement you've got now. It's untenable.
I agree, and it's been proven over the years.
Right. So the answer is until it changes, until those situations change, the relations is going to continue to be dysfunctional. As you said earlier, you can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Right. I guess I just wanted to know how to deal with. Me telling her and really believing it and really doing it and not calling her anymore. That's what I'm trying to deal with.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You kind of already knew that. I character issues lie on a spectrum. So you've got enough solidity and development of character to know better.
Right.
But you've got that excuse. You've got that but in there, and that speaks to a character issue. The fact that she is married makes her not entitled, and the fact that she is married makes you not entitled,
even though they don't sleep together.
The fact that she's married makes her not entitled. And makes you not entitled.
I get it. I got you now. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, she has to be upfront and honest, and if she is, she would divorce him.
Absolutely.
And,
yeah.
Yeah.
But you already knew all that.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's a very.
I'm thinking somehow this might be a test of my character. I'll bet you even knew what I was going to say.
No, I didn't. I wanted you to tell me how to, hopefully, tell me how to deal with the emotional aspect of leaving someone that you love. I guess.
How old are you?
I'm 58.
Yeah.
I'll be 58.
Yeah, at 58, with true development of character, what we do is we accept the emotional pain.
Okay, I got you.
We accept the emotional pain of making the right call.
Right, I got you. I understand.
At 17, we let the emotion rule, and we make the wrong call. Even though we know it's the wrong call, we let emotion rule. At 58, if we're still doing that, we got a character issue.
I got you. Okay, Dr. Simon. Well, thank you for your time.
You're so welcome.
And,
God bless you.
And I'll work on it.
Yes, God bless you. Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Right.
What a great call. What a great call. And, my wife and I, we were giving a talk, actually, just this past weekend about the kind of tough love that sometimes is required in an interpersonal encounter when it comes to character-related issues. And, folks can tell, and anybody can tell in any kind of relationship, when there is some kind of malevolent or hostile intent. And I certainly do not wish either the gentleman or the woman that he has talked about, who just called, any ill will at all. As a matter of fact, I wish them nothing but the very best and happiness. But some things just can't work. There are certain principles that govern human behavior and human relationships. And as we're growing and developing, we learn what those principles are. And, we have to have in our lives certain rules and certain boundaries. And we have to observe them. And if we do, if we don't, there's always a price to pay for that. And at some point, we have to stop saying, but. So I thank you so sincerely for the call. It was a wonderful call. And I will pray that you find your way clear to claim the values that I really sense that you're struggling to develop. And I can promise you that even though Einstein never said that, if you continue to do the same thing and expect a different result, you're probably a little nuts. But if you make some changes and decide to observe some proper boundaries and limits, the world is going to open up to you. A world of possibilities that perhaps you haven't considered before. So I wish you, seriously, all the very best, and I really thank you for the call. I wanted to talk a little bit about two things tonight, but once again, I want to invite folks who have questions or comments to give me a call at 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326, and I'll be happy to take your call. We are live tonight, May the 6th, 2018. We are live, so I can take your calls at 501-258-8326. Well, I want to talk about two things. First, I want to talk about the song that you hear at the beginning and the end of the program, America, My Home. This is the song that speaks in a personal way to the principles I was talking about when the program opened tonight. about the interrelationship between freedom and character. This society that we have structured in our Constitution cannot function well unless the individuals that make up our country are solid in character. That's what makes it work. Give people who take seriously the core values we need to function well as a society, hold our families together, hold our communities together, treat each other fairly. Those kinds of values allow us to prosper and also allow us to enjoy a range of freedoms second to none. In the absence of that character, there is constant invitation for government to police our affairs and to restrict our freedoms in the process. And inevitably, those attempts by government to do so only impinge upon the freedoms of decent law-abiding folks. The folks that want to violate all the rules don't pay attention to them anyway. So, I wrote this song along with my wife back in 1999. Actually, we wrote it in 98. It was published in 1999. It was first performed in 2000, and it gained popularity after the 9/11 attacks in 2001. And America, My Home, has always enjoyed some video pairings, the first of which, and the most popular of which on YouTube, were done by a regional ABC television affiliate during the 9/11 crisis. And that video was taped on analog equipment. It's kind of grainy. It's dated. It was a montage hastily put together in a studio. It didn't speak. There was no storyboard designed specifically to go along with the music. And so, on their own initiative, two different independent producers, a freelance individual, and the other, the president and founder of the most popular patriotic website and blog in the country, USA Patriotism. Each one of these individuals created new video montages with my permission, paired to the song, and have posted them on YouTube. And you can find the links to these on my blog site at drgeorgesimon.com. That's drgeorgesimon.com, or manipulative-people.com. Either URL will take you to the same place, as I always say. And you just click on the tab for America My Home's page up at the top of the blog site. And you will find two recent postings for these video montages. And you can go to the links on YouTube and see these brand new videos with, by the way, new and powerful orchestration, a new rendition of the song, same artist, but better orchestration than some of the earlier editions, and with a powerful new ending in many cases. And enjoy, be inspired, be touched, and please share, because America My Home and its message become spread by individuals who perform the piece. It's meant as a performance piece in churches, at civic events, at patriotic events and holidays. The Memorial Day weekend is coming up soon, and we already have many requests that we have fulfilled, and I hope to get many more. But the activity always depends on how many people like and share the videos. So please go to the website and share America My Home. Come Memorial Day weekend, on Sunday's broadcast that weekend, we will play the song several times during the program in its entirety, along with some stories about how the song was developed, the principles upon which it's founded, the message it's meant to carry. So please take the opportunity to go to drgeorgesimon.com or manipulative-people.com and click on the tab for America My Home and avail yourself of the two new videos that have high quality, high definition video images paired with America My Home. And then the other issue I wanted to talk about had to do with the post that I posted this past Friday, which is titled, "Abuse Victims Try Too Hard to Understand." And I know that some of you out there in the listening audience tonight are going to be able to identify with what I'm about to say about that. So this is an area where those of you who have been in any kind of an abusive relationship may want to comment, and you may want to call in. And if you do, if you have a question or just want to share a circumstance you think will be of benefit to the listening audience, give us a call at 501-258-8326. That's 501-258-8326. We are live tonight, May the 6th, 2018, so I can take your calls at 501-258-8326. So the post was on, the title was, abuse victims try too hard to understand. I haven't yet dealt with a victim of an abusive relationship, whether it's a physically abusive relationship, an emotionally abusive relationship, verbally abusive relationship, a bullying situation. I haven't yet come across someone. Oh, I see we have a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take it, and I'll get back to this topic. Hello, and welcome to Character Matters.
Hello?
Yes, turn your radio on, and we can have a conversation.
Yeah, I don't have radio. I just listen to you through internet.
Uh-huh.
And, sorry, I'm a little bit nervous. And this is my first time I call you, and I think I am in a relationship with one of the character disturbance people.
Uh-huh.
And he's my husband, and we have been girlfriend, boyfriend for a couple of years, and then we married. And
how long have you been married?
We have been together for 10 years, almost.
And how long married?
Around 6 years.
Okay, thank you.
And something that I have seen is that everyone, actually I talked to one of my friends just recently about, I just recently found out that what's going on in my relationship with the help of a counselor. I know that something was wrong, but I didn't know what is wrong. I couldn't put my finger on it, that's what is wrong, but I know that something was wrong. And eventually, I went and talked to a counselor, and she pointed different things to me, and like that, the fact that my husband was very, very irresponsible, very, very immature.
And when you say irresponsible, can you give me some examples?
Yes, for example, From the beginning, I was working, we were both students at university, and then I got the job, and he continued with education. Even though I was keep on asking him, does it mean that you're going to get a better chance? Because I came to this country to get my PhD, but in a couple of months, I noticed that all my friends that have PhD, they don't have any chance to find a good job. They were struggling. So that's why I changed my PhD to get another master.
Mm-hmm.
And
how old is your husband?
He is right now 37.
And does he have meaningful employment?
No. The problem starts from there, actually. I got pregnant with my second child. And all these years I have been working, and before we moved in, I got a condo, I bought a car,
yes.
And
Has your husband ever had meaningful employment?
No, he was a master's student and PhD, then he went to postdoc. And I was questioning him, does it necessarily, do you really have to do this? Because I've seen all my colleagues all around me, they are studying with bachelor, and they are much ahead of me that I have 2 masters. And he kept on telling me that, oh no, in my field is different. Mm-hmm. And I trusted him.
Yeah, so you're carrying all the weight of responsibility as far as the
yes, he was giving a scholarship, but the scholarship was nothing substantial,
And is this something that you agreed? Is this something you agreed to do from the beginning? Carry all the financial burden?
No, I never thought of that. Mm-hmm. I always thought my salary is going to be something cherry on top, Mm-hmm. I am a very hardworking person.
Mm-hmm.
And
have you confronted him with the notion that he needs to do his part to support the family?
Just recently, because the thing is that the problem is that I suddenly opened my eyes with the help of my counselor, and suddenly saw that in the last several years, I forgot all about my dreams. Mm-hmm. I forgot about what I want, and it becomes all about him and what he wants.
And when you confronted him about after you saw the counselor, when you confronted him about needing to do his part to help with the financial solvency of the family, what did he say?
The thing is that I have to tell you a little bit about it. That he knew that his funding is going to finish last November. And I keep on, telling him, and because I was pregnant, I was like, okay, I cannot work, this soon I'm going to be out of job, and with very little salary from, employment insurance. And he, every day, he was going to library, and all day he sat in library, apparently, and applied for different jobs. But nothing. And eventually, after, on February, I told him, okay.
And what's his explanation for not finding at least some kind of meaningful employment?
Exactly. The problem,
what's his explanation for failing to find at least some kind of adequate employment?
He was telling me that, I am, for example, for his job, he wants to apply for professorship, he wants to apply for different things, and he was telling me that, it's a very unlucky thing because I am a white male, and now everyone in professorship, in different, government job that I'm applying, they want woman, someone from, different countries that they are not white, so that's why I don't have a chance.
Mm-hmm. And so now you've come to the conclusion that you're married to someone who is pretty irresponsible.
I saw that from the beginning, but I always thought that he's gonna become better. And he always tell me, for example, see, I am putting these glasses that I always leave on the counter for days. I'm putting it back in its spot. This immature thing, they keep on pointing to me. Oh, see, you're telling me this. I'm getting better. See, for example, whenever there was a breaking point for me, he always got good for example, a week or month or something, and then he started from all over again. But But now at this moment, he convinced me to give my credit card to him. He was using it like no problem.
And you gave it to him?
Credit card.
And you gave it to him?
Yes, I got, because he was telling me that we can get a lot of points by doing that.
Yeah, but you're not doing that.
At the beginning, I was like telling him, okay, you have to pay your share.
Yeah, are you?
Because I was busy with my baby, I was busy with work, I was stressed, and I never calculated how much I'm paying, how much he's paying. I calculated this last year. For the whole year, he just paid me $7,000.
Yeah. So are you still letting him use the credit card?
No, I canceled it, and that was actually a big shock for me, because when I told him that I canceled it, I'm going to cancel it, he told me like, oh, why did you do that? I'm going to get a job, and then you can give it back to me. And I was like,
okay.
Why this guy thinks that it is my duty to give him credit card? Why he never thinks that he can provide me, as a man of the house, he can provide me a credit card? Why I am there,
Yeah. Okay, so I can give you a couple of pieces of really helpful advice. It's really hard from this distance to fully and accurately evaluate a situation, but I think I can safely give you two very solid pieces of advice. We know that in these kinds of relationships, the spouse who's suffering this kind of relational abuse and exploitation, we know that the spouse has two character traits. Number one, they're too conscientious. Number two, they're too agreeable. In other words, they're too ready to kind of cave in and do things either to keep the peace or to do the right thing. They're too willing to carry the burdens. So the two things that you're going to have to worry, the two things that you're going to have to work on in your therapy with your counselor is your agreeableness and your over-conscientiousness. And if your counselor doesn't recognize that those are the two traits in your character that must change with some hard work on your part, then by all means seek a different counselor. Because if your counselor is going to help you, they need to focus like a laser beam on those two traits in your character, that over-conscientiousness and that excessive agreeableness or accommodating tendency that you have. And then the other piece of advice I'm going to give you is that you need to insist that he get the assistance that he needs in dealing with the two aspects of his character that need work. And they are his self-centeredness and his willingness to use and abuse others.
The thing is that I feel like he never saw me as a human being. He saw me as an ATM machine. Mm-hmm. Because the problem.
Well, you've been an ATM machine. Why shouldn't he see you that way?
Well, because at the beginning I didn't have. When we started dating, I didn't have a job. We both were students. But I think he saw in me a potential, like I'm an engineer, and mm-hmm. He saw that I have a potential to. And I was very hardworking,
Yes. So did you understand my recommendation to you?
Yes.
And do you think I'm right on the money?
Yes. Because I bought your book, How We Get Here, How We Got Here. Uh-huh. And I'm reading through it, and the one that I'm still reading it, the one that really resonates with the character that I'm seeing is, I think it's called covert aggressive.
Yes.
Because he's always very calm, and he's always very like he does the stuff, he says the stuff, and I'm the one who gets mad and angry and screaming, but he's always sits quietly and watch,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why you end up getting angry and screaming, and that's because you're on the verge of depression. And when you stop screaming and you turn that anger inward, you're going to be depressed. Because what you're angry about is you keep wanting his behavior to change, and you don't have any power over his behavior. Only he has power over his behavior. But you want it to change. And so you're going to have to set some limits. And that's why I gave you that second piece of advice. And that is that he needs to get his own guidance, and he needs to focus with his own counselor on that self-centeredness that he needs to grow out of, and that tendency to use and abuse and exploit other people that he needs to grow out of, and fast, if this marriage is going to work.
I have another question.
Yes.
The thing is that my husband, something that I noticed is that it seems that he is always tell you what you want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, eventually after I said, I'm not paying a single penny until you live in this house. If you want to stay in this house, you have to pay.
Yes.
And he starts going to work at a construction.
Yes. Well, you just opened a door here to something I've been meaning to talk about on the program tonight, which is why I posted the article on the blog, and so you might benefit from reading it. Last Friday, I posted an article titled, "Abuse Victims Try Too Hard to Understand." You need,
yes, I think I read that, yes.
Yes, conscientious people like yourself always want to understand. But that only disempowers you. You don't need to you understand plenty already. You don't need to understand any more. All you need to be about is setting the boundaries and the limits, letting people know what can and can't be done if this marriage is going to work. All you really need to do basically is put your foot down about what you need to change with respect to your own character development, and what he needs to change if things are going to work. And that for him would be his selfishness and his sense of entitlement to use and exploit and abuse his relationship partner.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. So no more seeking to understand. Time to just set the rules and the boundaries and the limits. And work with your therapist on that tendency to be too agreeable and too accommodating and to.
I think that I am not very agreeable, but I think in the last several years he kind of manipulates me to see the world through his eyes.
That's what I mean about too agreeable. In other words, he's going to fight for his position. It's up to you not to cave in. That's the over-agreeable. That's the over-accommodating part. That's the part of your. That's the
because I'm reading other books and
you don't need to read more books. You need to address those two characteristics in your character. The tendency to be too agreeable and to take too much responsibility on yourself. Those two traits that you have need to be modified. Focus on those two things and those two things only. Focus on them like a laser beam and make sure that you're working with someone who will focus on only those two things with you. If you or your therapist spend any other time trying to address and understand all kinds of other things, you're not going to get very far. Mm-hmm. Keep it simple.
Do you mind if you give an example, like too agreeable? How can I not be too agreeable? How can I...
When he uses any of his explanations, tactics, when he comes on and tries to make you see things his way, say no.
He worked a lot on me about guilty feeling. Like, for example, when I told him that I want
did you hear what I just?
Start telling me, oh, you are putting the children in, jeopardy. Even having a loser father is better than not having any father. Look at the rate of the criminals. They are mostly they are not raised by a father.
Yeah. Did you hear my answer? Did you hear my answer?
And think about myself and not about my children.
Did you hear my answer to your question?
Yes.
When he does those kinds of things, you say no.
Okay.
You say no.
Yes.
If you say anything more than no, you're being too agreeable.
Yes.
And that's the thing in your character that has to change. That's one of the two things. And the other thing that has to change is the willingness to take all the responsibility on you for supporting this family. There is no excuse for a 37-year-old person not to be contributing to the support of his family. There's no excuse, period. None.
That's correct.
It's that simple. It's really that simple. And if you think another book is going to help you deal with those two issues, you're sorely mistaken. You've got to focus on those things like a laser beam. And you must insist that he focus on what he needs to change and get real busy about changing it, because time's running out. He's not getting any younger. He's already 37 years old, and he still hasn't grown up. He's still expecting, probably, his mother to take care of everything.
Yeah, actually, from that point, from the beginning of our relationship, his mother was very, very, not very nice to me.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and from the beginning, when we went,
you stole her boy.
Just see her every Christmas, and every Christmas I was coming back home and I was crying.
Yeah, you stole her precious little spoiled child. So you've got to.
The mother, I find out that the mother herself is very self-centered.
Yeah, well, the apple doesn't fall far from.
The children fight with each other to get the attention of the mother, and they treat her like a boss.
Yeah. Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah. All right, so I've given you two great pieces of advice, and I really hope it works out for you. I really hope that you take that advice seriously, and I hope that when you read through the books that you really take the time to digest them. I'm not just tooting my own horn here, but if you really digest the material and understand the principles involved, you won't need a ton load of other books to help you through this. Okay? All right. Well, all the best to you. And
Thank you. Thanks.
You're certainly welcome. Thanks for the call.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, another great call. Another great call. Because I've been meaning to get to this article. This in every abusive situation. This is the case. And did you hear all the possible explanations this dear, conscientious woman was trying to offer? This is the lasting, unfortunate legacy of our traditional psychology paradigms that had us believing two things about most human beings. One, that their childhood experiences, their traumas, their unmet needs, their self-esteem issues, blah, 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 are at the root of their problems. And two, that they don't even know that those issues are at the root of their problems. That's the lasting legacy of traditional psychology. And while there may be some merit to the perspective, the problem is that folks in abusive situations always seek to understand these things, thinking two things: that if they can understand the situation sufficiently, or if they can get the other person to understand the situation sufficiently, that things will change. Well, they won't. behavior has to change first. And when someone at 37 years old is still acting like a spoiled, entitled, all too precious child and expecting the woman of the house to pick up all the slack, to do all the work, to take all the responsibility because they're so special and they shouldn't have to, there can't be a marriage. There can't be the kind of adult-to-adult cooperation that characterizes a healthy, intimate relationship. It just can't work. And unfortunately, individuals who tend to be too irresponsible and too entitled and too selfish inevitably have radar for those folks on the planet who have two traits. They're too darned conscientious. Conscientiousness is not a bad thing, but too much conscientiousness in excess is not such a great thing sometimes, especially in certain kinds of relationships. So they tend to be too conscientious, and two, they tend to be too agreeable or too accommodating, too willing to defer, too willing to cave, too willing to take on the burdens that need to be shared in a relationship. And that's how they end up getting abused and exploited. Because the other person in the relationship is going to do what they can get away with because they haven't developed the character to care enough of anybody outside of themselves. And they never will unless a line is drawn in the sand. And the person basically who has been abused says back to them and means it, I'm tired of this and I'm not going to take it anymore. And you're going to have to do your part. And you're going to have to get your act together. You're going to have to do some growing up and fast. And if you need help doing that, you need to get it and you need to pay for it. By the way, I didn't get that point in, so I hope the caller is still listening. If she brings out that credit card or she offers to foot the bill, that's only going to perpetuate the problem. He's got to own the problem, and he's got to get some means of not only supporting the family, but also paying for his growing out of his adolescence and growing into adulthood. Well, folks, we're getting close to the end of the hour. It's been a great program tonight. I thank you for tuning in. Wonderful calls. Thank you, callers. I hope that you all avail yourself of the website at drgeorgesimon.com or manipulative-people.com. Please read the timely articles. Avail yourself of my 4 books, In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People, Character Disturbance, The Phenomenon of Our Age, How Did We End Up Here, and the Judas Syndrome. And as we listen to the closing bumper, America My Home, please visit YouTube for the videos of America My Home. Google them. Google America My Home. Go to YouTube. Click on the tab on my blog. And please share, because we have a holiday coming up and we want to spread the word. I'm Dr. George Simon. I'll see you again next week on another edition of Character Man. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.
May God bless America and freedom reign across America, my home. From the shorelines to the prairies, to the city